Hello, my dear students. Once again, I am present in front of you with the humorous and satirical play Mother's Day. It is the third and last part of Mother's Day. This has been written by J.B. Priestley, who was a great novelist, playwright, and writer. Mother's Day, which has been written by J.B. Priestley. मदर सारे जहां में नहीं मिलता, सारे जहां में नहीं मिलता बेशुमार इतना सुकून मिलता है माँ के प्यार में जितना. वी शुड नेवर हेट, नेग्लेक्ट, इग्नोर our mothers, even others, because love is the quality which links each and everyone and brings close to all of us. Now let's start the chapter. Recapsulation. Doris gets upset at the changed behavior of mother. Actually, what happens? Doris comes to the house and she sees her mother changed behavior, and she finds that she refuses to make tea and iron her silk, yellow silk, and in this way she was surprised at the behavior of her mother. Cyril also gets distressed due to aggressive and bold behavior of the mother. Cyril comes, and when he finds that she is not ready to make tea for him, and she has also not she has not done mended work. Now let's start the third part of this chapter. George Pearson, bewildered. Students, bewildered means confused, puzzled. Means George Pearson was puzzled, surprised when he enters the house. George comes home, gets puzzled and irritated on seeing Mrs. Pearson drinking stout. As soon as George Pearson, the husband of Mrs. Pearson, enters the house and finds Mrs. Pearson drinking stout, he is puzzled. He gets angry. He is not happy and thinks what is happening to her. You can see here stout. Stout is a strong dark beer made of barley or malt, roasted malt or barley. He refuses to have tea but gets angry on learning that no tea is prepared for him. Means here he refuses to have tea. Means George Pearson expresses his desire that he does not want to have tea, but he becomes angry when he hears the words of Mrs. Pearson that she has not prepared tea for him. Next is feels highly upset when Mrs. Pearson tells him that he is called Pompey Pearson at the club for being slow and pretentious. Here you can see the picture. The picture of George Pearson who looks Pompey, and Mrs. Pearson makes fun of Mr. George Pearson, and Mr. George Pearson becomes upset when she says that you look Pompey Pearson. It means the members of club address you Pompey Pearson. He gets angry when asked not to visit the club frequently. It means when Mrs. Pearson asks him not to go to the club frequently, as the club members laugh at him and call him slow and pretentious, means Pompey. They call him Pompey Pearson. Cyril confirms that what the mother says is right. Means George Pearson doesn't believe in Mrs. Pearson. He wants to know from Cyril. Cyril confirms that mother is saying right. What she is saying is right. Cyril feels angry at the mother for hurting his father's feelings. Actually, in this way, mother hurts the feeling of father, and Cyril doesn't like this type of behavior of his father. Mrs. Fitzgerald means Mrs. Pearson in the body of Mrs. Pearson's soul in the body of Mrs. Fitzgerald comes up, and creates a confusion to everyone by calling Mrs. Pearson Mrs. Fitzgerald. Now I want to make it clear here that the soul of Mrs. Pearson in the body of Mrs. Fitzgerald comes, and she calls the Mrs. Fitzgerald's soul in the body of Mrs. Pearson as Mrs. Fitzgerald. All the members of family are confused, are surprised. What she is saying? Okay, so here this is very humorous. Here you can understand, dear students, that very strange situation is there, and Mrs. Pearson in the body of Fitzgerald comes and calls Mrs. Fitzgerald in the body of Mrs. Pearson as Mrs. Fitzgerald. So this is very funny and comical exchange of personalities again. Now, when the curtain from secret raises and everything becomes clear, the crystal clear, the two women change back into their original personalities. Now, the two women become ready to change their personalities again. They want to return in their real personalities. You can see in the picture, both the ladies are sitting facing each other, and Mrs. Fitzgerald holds the hands of Mrs. Pearson, and she speaks some magical words, and with the magical words, suddenly, all of a sudden, they change their personalities. They come in their real existence. Mrs. Fitzgerald, happy to have enjoyed being Mrs. Pearson. Now, I would like to tell you, the students, that Mrs. Fitzgerald actually enjoyed a lot being Mrs. Pearson. She played the part of Mrs. Pearson, and she was enjoying Mrs. Pearson's part. She advised Mrs. Pearson to remain firm and bold and goes away after a while. At last, Mrs. Pearson is advised by Mrs. Fitzgerald that she must remain firm and bold. She should never bend before her children, and she must obey them. She should not follow their orders, but she must be mistress, boss of the house, and she should behave like the boss, master of the house, and in this way she should not bend before them. And suggesting these words, Mrs. Fitzgerald goes away after a while. Now, change in George, Doris, and Cyril. Dear students, now the play is going towards the happy ending. George, the husband of Mrs. Pearson, Doris, the daughter of Mrs. Pearson, and Cyril, the son of Mrs. Pearson. Change. They have improved their behavior. Now Mrs. Pearson smiles. George, Doris, and Cyril feel relieved, relaxed. They feel happy and relaxed, comfortable, decide to remain at home. That day, Father, Doris, and Cyril, three of them decide not to go outside of the house. They decided to remain at home that day. In this way, take orders from the mother happily. All of them are very happy to receive the orders from the mother. And George agrees to have a game of rummy as the mother wishes. You can see here the play cards. It is called rummy. George Pearson to have game of rummy as the mother. It was the wish of mother. She wanted to play rummy with her family members to feel joy of the family. In this way, Cyril and Doris agree to get the supper ready. Now you can see, students, that at last Cyril and Doris themselves become ready to make supper for her mother, for their for their mother. And in this way the play ends, and you can see here, because the play is ending with happiness, caring, obeying, understanding for feeling is certainly a real Mother's Day. When you submit your, okay, you submit to your mother's will, that day is celebrated as Mother's Day. Now the assignment have been given. Please attempt these questions after reading the chapter thoroughly. And thanks students for watching this video.